Peace, family. I see they are trying to stop the intel. Wow. Whenever they make it seem as if I'm out of sync, this will solidify every bit of truth that I tell. Can't stop, won't stop. I'm back and I made another live. Check on it real quick. Put a like on a video. Put a like on a video when you step in the door so they're unable to do anything. Put a like on a video just to make sure it stays up so that they know that other people are here watching. Check on it. They try to stop it. Can't stop, won't stop. I'm the most amazing Sagittarius you will ever meet. And even if you try to hate, just appreciate and join. All right, I'm gonna get into the conversation. Let me get in real quick. So anyway, there was a please put a like on the video so this stays up. People are checking in. They don't even know I'm on. Jump off the other live. Tell the people on the other live that I'm here. Check on in quickly because they shut it down, and as quick as they can shut it down, I want to get into the intel real quick. So thank you. Can't stop, won't stop. So Tuesday there was a they are really trying. Tuesday, they were really trying, they had a contact. There was a UFO sighting on Tuesday in Jersey, New Jersey. And remember, I wanted to always discuss with you that even in the movie, there was an old movie, a Twilight Zone movie. I don't know if any of you watched the Twilight Zone movie. It's called To Serve Man. When the Martians, but they called themselves Martians, but they were the tall whites. Remember where the sighting was first? It was in Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey is the hot spot of UFO activity. A lot of people think that UFO activity is all in the sticks or in Nebraska in the woods. It does happen, but those are mostly gray and those are mostly governmental. Most of true contact from the extraterrestrial happens in a lot of urban areas because those are their offspring. The Moors, the Moors, the Martians, the Olmecs. If you notice, there isn't any UFO platforms talking about the Olmecs. How come you have Olmec heads in Japan, in China, in Russia, in Virginia, in Washington, D.C., in Alaska, in Africa, in India? Why do you know that there's big, broad nose, Negroidian, thick lips in the Incan and the Mayan had all the thick lips? Okay, they don't talk about it on the other platforms, do they? They don't bring up the Olmecs. They don't bring up the Olmec heads and say, if you were talking about the fake Pelagians that, Pelagians do exist, but if you talk about Pelagians, you don't see monuments of these type of beings all over the planet. Where are those monuments? You have Easter Island with these big Olmec Negroidian faces, and all of the noses have been defaced of a lot of the pyramids because they want to take away from the actual phenotype of the actual Martians that are now back. Okay? The Olmecs were Negroidian looking, chocolate brown. And someone had the nerve to say, oh, these black people. Listen, there isn't any such thing. Black is black, number one. And most brown people are the color of trees. You're not going around saying those black trees, are you? You're saying those trees. All trees on this planet are brown. So cut it out already. And this is information that you will hear about the Olmecs because it's literally being blocked out because they don't want you to know who's back. And I had contact with these beings on Tuesday. And the reason why they were in New Jersey is because that's where a majority of their offspring are, in Newark, New Jersey. That's why you see a certain kind of, in Newark, New Jersey, you'll see certain type of beings. A lot of the Moorish community is there. A lot of these telepathic telekinesis masters are all in Newark, New Jersey. And again, if you watch the movie To Serve Men, which is from Twilight Zone, I think this is like the late 50s or 60s. I don't remember when it was created. It's To Serve Men. They will always bait and switch you. So they'll give you a bit of the truth and say extraterrestrials. The first place that they were was in Newark, New Jersey. But then they'll put something like a spin of the tall whites to make you to detract you from knowing the truth. The Olmecs equals the Moors, Lemurians, the mermaids, equals the Martians, equals the Moors. Remember we talked about the Moors who sent Christopher Columbus because Christopher Columbus was an idiot. He didn't have any navigational, his navigational skills were literally depreciated to where he didn't know if he was coming or going. And it was the Moors who had these brown men in the middle of the ocean on a little ponga boat with these robes on and turbans with these gold telescopes looking out, pointed the cryptic colonizers over to the North Americas. And when they got to the North Americas, they saw a whole bunch of Negroid people and they thought they were in Africa. Okay? This is fact. This isn't conjecture. You can look it up. This is something that actually United Fakes of America likes to change all history. So if any of my European family, you actually have the archives that actually denote that when Christopher Columbus came, he thought he was in Africa because people had coiled hair and stuff in their nose and they look Africano. Many people only denote the Asiatic looking indigenous here that were literally people that had just migrated there a couple hundred years previously, like 100 or so years previously, that look more like the Asiatics that are from the East. And when the colonizers came, they felt more in sync with the Eastern indigenous because it was more of what they were used to. They knew those type of people because they had done, where they got their gunpowder from. Okay, they got the gunpowder from the East, from Eastern Asia, and that's why they were comfortable with them. But when they saw the Negroidians, those are the ones that they later on destabilized and broke apart and killed off in eugenics, all that craziness. Okay, I don't want to diverge from that, but I just want to say that the Martians are back home. Now listen to what I just said to you before they cut this. I'll put a like on the video if you like the intel. The Martians are back home in this older version of their terrain. This planet is Mars. Past, present, and future are relative. There are spaces right now, including Arizona, which are bleed throughs from a dimensional portal that allows for the bleed through of Mars to come through. This planet is Earth, Mars. This was a planet that was geoengineered. The terrain was constructed to make a more habitable place for the type of beings that they were going to homogenize. So they geoengineered the weather. They made the social construct, the environment, to make it more appeasing so certain types of beings were here. Mars is in Arizona. That's a bleed through from a dimension of Earth. Past, present, and future are relative. The Martians, all these jump rooms, they're not doing anything but jumping into the future or past. They terraformed it. Thank you, my love. Terraformed it. This planet Earth is beautiful, but she's terraformed. Remember when I said I saw underneath the Earth? And I said, oh, wow, I saw this lava and everything. I was like, wow. And I looked up and I saw the roots of the trees being burned, like cinder. And then I told you later on when the Victorians showed me and I stood on this tall, it was almost like I was looking out on the entirety of the Earth, but I don't think I could see everything. And I told you all I saw was rock. I saw 0 trees. And I saw these beautiful walls of waterfalls. Beautiful wall of waterfalls and rainbows. The rainbow is an effect. Now I realize the rainbow is the effect of radiation, and it causes a dimensional shift. So it's almost like we're being reconstructed into our terrain that used to be. Okay, Arizona isn't the only bleed over to Mars. There are several different places on Earth that are literally the bleed over to the dimension of Mars. It looks like my phone is going to do it again. I'm going to get this information. So I had contact with the Martians that were on the ship in Jersey. And what was interesting about this, because I had contact with the Moors, the Martians, the Moors, Lemurians, back, I think, how many years? I've been on YouTube 9 years. I gotta think years. What year? Maybe not 9 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, 6 years ago, roughly. I don't want to say definitively because I remember having contact, and they were on a rock and they were just standing. They were very stoic. They didn't say anything. Remember, they aren't using they aren't using archaic forms of communication. This we using with our mouth is a very low field form of communication. They use the pineal gland to interface with conveying to each of us. Okay? The Martians, the colony, now mind you, there's other beings on Mars. Mars, Earth. Earth is Mars. So the jump rooms that they were doing, the only reason I never realized that the jump rooms that they created, I'm thinking to myself, well, it's not a Stargate that they created on all these governmental Willy Wonka opposite systems. They created these like almost like a jump room, but it interdimensionally jumped. It wasn't intergalactically jumping because Stargates are used for that, and those are more so wormholes. So why would they have jump rooms? And I had to always think in my mind, what was the rationale for that, or what was the science between the difference between a jump room and that which was a Stargate? I'm thinking there was a various of differences, and I'm not a qualified scientist or someone who's an architect of Stargate. So mind you, a lot of this is what I've surmised of years of being a contactee, and also from having interface with different beings, and knowing that Willy Wonka and his League of Doom have been utilizing jump rooms. Because remember, President Obama was denoted as going through jump rooms. Every president of the United States of America has utilized the jump rooms, and a lot of them were trained on Mars. But Mars is Earth. It is another form of Earth in another dimension, past, present, or future. The pyramids of Giza aren't what is the past. It's literally what is in the future. We're getting bleed overs from other dimensions, other timelines, bleeding over into what we consider to be what we're perceiving. We're living in a hologram. We're literally living in a holographic system where a lot of these things are perpetually being projected, and we're perceiving based on what's being projected. Okay, so let me state this. I had contact with a Martian on Tuesday when people had witnessed. Now, what I love about this is the first time I can literally say that UFO that was denoted by hundreds of people who were driving on the highway that day, that was literally a true and a real UFO sighting. Many UFO sightings sometimes holographic bleed overs. Sometimes it could be blue beam technology to beta test people. Sometimes they are government Willy Wonka reverse engineer crafts. This was a true blue Martian craft that you perceived. When that craft came through, it bled through. What they did is they contacted me. Now, what I will say, during this contact is the first time I was ever initiated into interfacing with a true, actual Olmec, an Olmecian. I want to give them the true names, the Olmecians, the original Earth beings, Martians. That's why their head is everywhere. And that is why there is a fear of brown extraterrestrials, because these Olmec heads were the original founders of Earth. They lived here. This is their Earth, their Mars. This is their terrain. They are back, family. And not only are they back, they're riding the tail feathers of Nibirian that's coming in as well. That's why we have all this red dust everywhere all over the planet. Turkey's whole environment is red right now. Everywhere is, like, I woke up the other morning, it was absolutely orange and red in the sky. Now, there was a lie going around by your Willy Wonka system saying that the skies are red because of the fires. I live in Florida. Turkey's not anywhere around California. They're absolutely lying to you, just like when we had a dust storm. They're telling you it's all the way from Africa. Family, you are being baited and switched. Everything they're telling you is smoke and mirrors. It is a lie. They literally are frightened and shaking in their boots. They are unable to tell you what is to come. Oh, thank you, my love. Thank you. Have been busy with homeschool. Oh, yeah, I know you have, my love. Thank you, Apollonia. Wait, hold on. Apollone says, I've been busy with homeschooling and nieces. I had to hear you today. Much love to the family. So we have a lot of beings back. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, my love. So when Tuesday came in, there was a huge sighting, and I love the fact that many people perceive this as actually telling you something. Your Willy Wonka is trying to lie, and they're frightened as heaven. I realize now why they're frightened, because they have literally been taking the organs of those beings that are extraterrestrial to try to keep their life force running. Now I know why there was so much organ harvesting of melanites on this planet, because a lot of the melanites are hybrids of Martians and Niburians. And because of their DNA being so restorative and so regenerative, that was one of the main sources of DNA that would allow for these bastards, these empty seeders, to be able to live past their expiration. The Olmecs are everywhere. Why isn't your UFO communities talking about the Olmecs? Why aren't they talking about the Easter Island Olmecians? Why aren't they telling you that there are Negroidian statues all over the planet, not just in Africa? We know it is a fact. And you know, what's interesting, people will sit there and hear the truth, and they will purposefully, I don't know if they go into some status of denial or fear based on maybe their feeling of their prejudices or biases, or maybe even their social engineered conscious state of being, that they will literally overlook the fact that on the entirety of the planet, there are Olmec heads that are being covered up by Willy Wonka systems everywhere, because they don't want you to know what is now here. That is why they're putting all this complexion fights, because they want to distract you, because they're trying to set up to get out of here, because they're going to pay for the crimes against humanity, against the Martians and the Niburian offspring. The Martians are here, family. The Olmecs are here. I met one. It was interesting, and I'm going to share it with you. Now, on Tuesday when the sightings came, I think I told you I was on a Zoom. Big up to the Zoom crew. We have Isabel, we have Alicia, Mia, Salou. You know, we have let's see, Tamani. I'm trying to get everybody. Bruce wasn't there this time. We have Ada. Who else was in the group? Oh my God. We have Pink. We had so many people on there. Who else was on there? Who else? Oh, On. We were up for 30 hours, literally 30 hours from a Zoom meet and greet, working on telepathy, working on our remote viewing. It was amazing. And who else was in there? All Things Reiki was there. Oh my gosh, get the names out here. Everybody was, it was amazing. Like I said, it literally jumped us into another conscious state of being. So it made sense that there would be some sort of opening that would make me more receptive as a contactee to maybe more contact. Now, I didn't know that there would be, and we have to realize sometimes everything is synonymous to what your conscious state of being is, because that awareness, that portaling we did when we remote viewed inside of All Things Reiki allowed us to remote view with her, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you, All Things Reiki. She allowed us. It was the most on point time. We had practiced our telepathy. We were practicing our telekinesis for a while, and we were able to remote view. Amazing. It was probably the most amazing thing. And I think that leveling up of consciousness and awareness kind of allowed that portaling open to this contact that I had on Tuesday. Now, on Tuesday, when I was looking up. Now, mind you, I didn't go to sleep. Finally, I just passed out. You know, there's a point in reference where your body just says, screw you, I'm out. Okay, we were watching Mission to Mars. I don't even know what happened. I was out because we watch movies on Zoom as well. I was out watching Mission to Mars. I didn't even remember half the movie. Even though I saw it years ago, I didn't remember half the movie. And then I woke up, literally looking up over a building. And I said, oh, snap, that's one of the crafts. So I'm looking up. And I'm like, oh man. So I must have been mid-drum, but when you could see the craft, you the intricacy of the craft, the colors. Of course, it was magnetic energy. Whenever it's magnetic energy, you get a spectrum of different colors. Colors usually details magnetic energy. If it's white lights or it's clear lights, usually it's used by a low field form of energy to be able to drive it. So that's usually how I denote crafts. And I got this from Dr. Delbert Blair. I won't take the credit for this. Dr. Delbert Blair was the one who cultivated us to recognize which type of beings were manning or driving those crafts. And you could tell energetically what type of beings based on the lights. So if there was a colorful spectrum of lights, it didn't matter if it was one more than the other or rainbow spectrum. Usually they were using magnetic energy. And if you notice, the low field energetic parasitic vampiric type of beings can't handle magnetic energy. The higher beings can have a higher spectrum of evolvement and are driven by magnetic energy, and everything they use is like orgone energy, magnetic magnets and things of that nature. So they have you see them with colors. Low field beings utilize some lower form of electronics or energetic references that makes their lights only white. So that's how we usually know if it's governmental, if it's Nazi driven, if it's so on. It's usually white lights. It's usually Willy Wonka's reverse engineering things. Sometimes it's a low field grays coming, but it's a denser, lower field of spectrum so that you only see that white light as opposed to the colors. Okay, so that's why certain beings have a problem with the magnetic energy. Listen, family, I got so much to tell you. That energy, that artificial construct that you see in the sky, that fake light. Yes, I have my eyes. Some people be like, Fleurbrun is shape-shifting. She won't show her eyes. This is my eyes. I'm just keeping it on because I have these new cool glasses that I like. So I like using my new spectrum of light that reflects back to everyone who's negative. So it bounces back onto them. So basically, that artificial solar fixture in the sky, that sun simulator that they have in the sky, is an artificial construct. That's why when they go up in space, and they don't really go in space because they can't, unless you have a heightened amount of melanin and you're a certain genetic quality, you aren't able to go up there because of the gamma radiation. Gamma radiation isn't something that anyone can be exposed to who doesn't have a heightened amount of melanin. Melanin protects the cells from inception, and also it protects it against radiation. So that's why they were sending monkeys at a certain point, darker monkeys a little further up, because of the fur and because of the heightened amount of melanin that they have, so that they could go a little further up. But there isn't any being that is going out in space that does not have a heightened amount of melanin. Even the rocket ships have to be covered with melanin, with literally liquid melanin, to be able to break through the atmosphere. When you go past a certain point, you don't see an luminous bright fixture in the sky. If you ever look at the videos of them showing so-called space, it's dark. Where is the god-darn sun? If the sun is so bright, where is the sun? If the sun is so luminous, how come when they get out there, it's dark? Why is it that when the sun is furthest from the earth, we get summer? Why is it when it's closest to the earth, we get winter? Because that is a sun simulator. That isn't what you do. And also magnetic energy, if we keep it real, any sun that would be in the sky, because we are a binary system, and we're going back to that with the two suns coming back. One has a black overlay, like a carbon round surrounding this solar fixture that actually is a sun, a star, and then we have another one that can be seen now when you take pictures. Those are the actual fixtures that are being covered by the sun simulator. And magnetic energy isn't hot, family. It's cold. Okay? It's cold. You don't have to be a super scientist to figure this out. And if you think that I'm making it up, because people are like, oh, she's making things, why don't you look it up? Prove me right. I always say, don't listen to me. Do your due diligence. Somebody showed somebody channeling saying, oh, Fleurbrun is a liar. She's not she doesn't know anything. She's not. Anyone telling you that is literally an Agent Smith. I've been in contact with Andromedans for the entire time since a little girl. Many of the different beings utilize me as a form of interface to be able to convey the level of contact, the soft conveyance of other beings, because they know that I'm fair and balanced in the spectrum of the interdimensionals, intergalactics, and inter-earth beings. I am utilized as the liaison between many different beings and many different worlds, because I sit in unity consciousness with a healthy, integrity-based set of principles, and that's the way I've been reared. So I am grateful to now take on that I am the liaison that is here to share this message with you. It doesn't make me special, it makes me unique, yes, but there are many people having interface with many of their own galactic families. Okay, so Tuesday, so I'm looking up at the fixture after we had our 30-hour Zoom meet. I'm looking up at this fixture, the craft in the sky, and I'm like, oh snap, that craft is kind of low. So it was hovering, and how I know it's a craft, because I'm a contactee for so long, I hear the woof, woof, woof. It feels like it's inside of your body. So if anyone's had, it's different types of craft, not all extraterrestrial use crafts. Sometimes the macabre, because they're heightened. That's why the most intergalactic beings that travel aren't using archaic metal containers to travel. They utilize their body, their macabre. That's why they have really, really carbon skin. That's why the Centaurians are so dark carbon, because they travel intergalactically and they can utilize their own macabre, their own field to travel. That's light beings. Remember, light beings are literally beings that absorb all spectrums of light. What it absorbs all spectrums of light? Black. I don't like to use that word, but for no better term, black absorbs all colors of light. It is the one color that absorbs all spectrums, okay? That's why when they tell you and they don't share with you the galactics that are hyper carbon, those are intergalactic beings. Those are the ones, and any other being that's traveling, usually in these archaic types of cylinder encasements, usually are grays that are homogenized and are artificial in format. They're made like they're geoengineered in little capsules, like, test tube babies. And they are genetically created to allow for space travel. They have very small bodies, very big heads. They aren't built with the same amount of liquid components that we are. So that's why it's different. That's why you also know that a lot of the melanites have a heavier bone density. A heavier bone density allows for interstellar travel. That bone density allows, if you ever measure, and I like to say this, and people who are clinicians, doctors, physicians, you can validate this. Like when you go into a doctor's office, you see two women that look similar in stature. You take a brown woman, highly carbonated, that cosmic brown, and you take a lunar woman, same shape, maybe slender, and you weigh both of them. Who will weigh heavier? Let me state it again. Who will be heavier? It will be the melanated women, because her bone density is different and strong and more pronounced than the lunar woman. Her bone density is weighs more than her lunar counterpart. And that matters in the state of interstellar traveling, or her genetics. It allows her to travel without compromise to the dexterity of her bones when she travels. Also having very coily, tight coiled hair, which has always been denoted as nasty. Now, I'm going to tell you why. I found out why that brown people on this planet have literally been treated and disliked innately. I will tell you why. I found out why. I really kind of knew, but I didn't really know to the degree that I know now. That strong coily hair protects the skull from gamma radiation. If a being has traveled and is usually from other star systems, they usually have the denotion of their genetics or where they come from. Usually that coily hair denotes it. Because traveling interstellarly also will coil up the hair as well. So that's one of the prime examples of beings that have been exposed to gamma radiation, is when their hair is highly coiled and their skin is highly melanated, because they came from other star systems. And not only other star systems, a lot of these beings come from the inner earth as well, because you have that solar fixture, which is like a blue fixture that's actually an inside of the earth. Okay, so highly coiled, the blue, and also it's not dark skin. It's usually melanated, means they had green skin, they had blue skin. Usually beings from other planets, to be honest, had like purple, blue, and green. But what happens when they hit Earth's atmosphere, because we have a different kind of, the iron oxide in the air kind of oxidizes that color. So when you oxidize green, it turns into brown. When you oxidize blue, if it's like a metal ore, it turns brown. So why you have people here that are displayed with darker carbon skin that looks more brown is because their skin is, with the environment that we're living in here, it will change, literally change the chemistry, the biochemistry of the melanin, and it causes it to turn brown. Okay, someone could actually say this a little more scientifically efficient than I. So do forgive me when I'm unable to convey it in a way maybe that's as scientifically sound. I give you what I know. Okay, hold on. Okay, so we have these beings that are here. Now I see, okay, I'll go back to my contact because I'm all over the place because I want to give you absolutely, please put a like on a video if you're up for the intel, because again, I shared this. We were talking about this. Big up to Alicia, who kind of opened up the spectrum of this conversation by sharing an amazing documentary that we watched on Patreon that literally opened Pandora's box to who the Moors, the Martians, because I knew who the Martians were. I knew they were from Mars, but literally opened Pandora's box to the Olmecians. The Olmecs are literally being literally being omitted from any conversation in the ET community, and I do understand why now. I do understand why they've been diminished and discounted purposefully. But when you hear why, you'll understand. So why most brown people have been so literally, especially very coily hair brown people, I realize what it is. The Olmecians, which the Olmecs have coily hair, you can see it on every statue, and even when you see it on statues, you see the coily hair of the Sumerians, okay? The Lemurians. You see them, that coily, it looks like little curls or coils. You also see usually the wider nose, the thicker lips. Those are all Olmecians, Martians, okay? Now, when you get to some of the beings from Nibiru, it's a little different phenotype. They usually have the carbon skin, but sometimes they have the thinner nose, they have the thinner lips, more likened to those that you see phenotype-wise in Ethiopia or Eritrean. Eritrean is, in ancient times, was I think Eritrea and Ethiopia were one like 30 years ago until the war, right? Am I mistaken, family? I want to make sure I'm historically on point because I want to make sure I'm keeping everything valid. I believe, I want to say believe. I think that the Eritreans were part of Ethiopia before 30 years ago, before the war. Am I correct? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. I want to keep my historical values sound. Okay, the phenotype of the Ethiopians is very likened to what you see in ancient Mesopotamian archives or hieroglyphs. If you see on the Sumerian tablets, the phenotype of the Olmecians as well as the Niburians, you will see the phenotype of the Ethiopian phenotype on the ancient Egyptian pharaoh pyramids and what have you, and all the temples. Those are the type of phenotype genealogy that you will see visually on a lot of these temples. Now, when you start to see the wider noses and the thicker lips, they generally will break off the nose to take away from the ethnicity, because they want you they don't want you to know the actual phenotype of the original beings that were coexisting in these higher technology fields of existence in ancient or future Egyptian. I don't want to say Egyptian. Egyptian is a European term that was created by colonizers that were basically robbing and pirating. That's why you see a lot of the statues, the artifacts from ancient Africa, ancient Kemet in European museums. That's a form of stealing and pirating. You know, when people were saying, well, oh my God, all these people are looting. The original looters were colonizers going into other people's countries in ancient Asia and ancient Africa, places in Africa, places in places everywhere else in parts of Polynesia islands. All those artifacts were stolen. They weren't paid for, they weren't asked for, they were taken and placed. Now, mind you, I'm going to sidebar for a minute. A lot of these relics that are taken have energetic portaling powers, and these beings, some of these beings are grays. Now I'm going to sidebar for a minute. A lot of these grays that are associated with these other extraterrestrials that have intercepted in this matrix time frame, they literally knew that if they took specific artifacts, it would disallow these stargates to be accessible, and that these time frames where we're going into, where there's opening of portals in each geographical location, sometimes linear to those ley lines that are literally being reconfigured as we speak during the pole shift. They knew that taking these relics and keeping them isolatory in their own facilities far from Africa or far from Asia would disallow from some of these portals to be accessible or to be accessed by other beings coming in back at this time where people are basically bringing back the conscious state of awareness to everyone here. Okay, so a lot of times, you know, I think Kenya is asking, who asked for their stuff back? Kenya is asking for their artifacts back from France. Who else? Is it Kenya? Who is it? Cote d'Ivoire. Is it Cote d'Ivoire? No. Oh my gosh. Who is it? Is it Nigeria? Okay, Nigeria is asking for their artifacts back from France. There's quite a few places that are asking for their artifacts back, telling them that how dare you go into the pharaoh's tombs and take those things out. They were there energetically for a reason. Remember also those bodies that were exhumed, that were preserved in order to keep the genomes and DNA intact, were literally bought and sold for European consumption to eat. It was very common that they would eat the remains of the mummies as a way. They were told that it was medicine and it would keep them living for long periods of time. If you think I'm lying, you can absolutely look this up. They were purchasing, people, I forgot what it's called, like something tar or mummy tar. They were consuming, they were selling the remains of the corpses that were preserved purposefully so that when we come back to this time frame, the extraterrestrials who do replications could take the very DNA of their previous physical form and regenerate themselves. And you could see this a lot in the Scorpion King movie. If you get a chance, watch the Scorpion King movie when they talk about the resurrection of the mummies and bringing them back to life, utilizing the very DNA. That is very true. But they were doing this, people were consuming it and selling it. So they were taking hands, feet, legs of the corpses and selling it all throughout Europe for consumption. So it's very disgusting when people call Africans cannibals, when very nature of the colonization, they were doing absolutely the same. Actually, they were consuming somebody else's genetic composition and consuming it and selling it abroad, and then calling the very people on the continent where they've hoarded and stole and pillaged all of their amazing, precious artifacts, calling them animals, subhuman, calling them, less than worthy. This is amazing to me. It's called the hypocrisy, and it's called the bait and switch. Okay, it's absolutely disgusting. Okay, I'm diverging. Let me go back to the contact. So the fact of the matter, when I had contact on Tuesday, I keep going off, and I only have a little period of time, so I know I'm going off because these are very important facts that you need to know. Some people don't know this, and a lot of times they think that I'm making things up when I give you reference points to go look up. See, the problem is you have people that could be very lazy, or they dislike me sharing this. Like, if you hear a man sharing it, I hear other platforms where men are sharing this and it's very well accepted. But as soon as you get a woman sharing this information and she's a melanite woman, it's always questioned. It's always, questionable where her resources come from. It's always questionable. I am the divine mother. My phenotype can create worlds and people and different entities. This avatar is my original. I am an heirloom. I am drug-free, alcohol-free. I take care of my children. Beautiful, love. I came from two parents who loved each other. There isn't any better liaison that could give you this information that isn't directly interfaced or ruined to give you this information. I am clean and clear. I am a clear portal to give you this information. It's interesting that people would prefer to get information from a sociopath or from somebody who does drugs to get their intel, or someone who's perpetually has bias and prejudices, rather than getting it from a woman who loves all animals and children on earth, who is sitting basically with divine unity consciousness. I could care less if you're lunar, brown, green, purple. I can literally love you and respect you based on your frequency. It's rare that you get that, but why you get it from me is because I was raised by some amazing people. You didn't see me based in the trauma programs. I wasn't raped and pillaged, and I don't have that in my DNA. I wasn't ruined by my family dynamics. So when I give you the information, it's more integrity ridden because I come from a higher frequency of love. And it's not to say I'm better, but it tells you that I'm a cleaner portal. So be mindful where you get your information from, because people will tell you things, but past behavior and where they come from means everything to do with the information that comes through. Higher beings with more higher field integrity and higher frequency won't come through low field people who rape children, who are child molesters, who are prejudiced, who are hoarders of information. They won't portal that information, and they won't telepathically communicate with them. So when you see these clowneries online who are prejudiced towards brown or lunar people, that isn't an interface that extraterrestrials, because they consider that to be they consider that to be a psychological depreciation. They consider it to be a broken tool. They aren't going to go through them. They'll go through a cleaner portal. But the problem is when you get someone clean and has a higher field of awareness, there's criticism because you're so used to hearing dirty dogs talking about intel that you've gotten used to that type of frequency disseminating information. So there's more credence to it. If a male gives the information, it's automatically less question. When a female gets it, she is if she's lunar, but if she's a brown woman giving the intel, she's automatically questionable because she represents something that is outside of what is considered to be divine, at least in the spectrum of the darkness. Okay, so let me go off. I'm sorry, I had to say that. All right. Prejudice is something that is a sociopathic condition. If you're prejudiced and you hate people, or you're biased, that's a sign of low field frequency. There isn't anything high that will come through and portal through that person or have interface with them. I'm telling you, extraterrestrials aren't worried about your complexion. They're worried about your species. Okay, they're worried about your DNA. That kind of behavior is a denotion. I already know if someone's in contact with other beings. If they have prejudices and they don't want me to represent the Andromedans, I represent the Andromedans. If they have a problem with it, I automatically know that they aren't in interface with higher vibrational extraterrestrials. They most likely are agents or AI. AI has a problem with the melanite woman because she represents the matrix, the dark womb, the mother, okay? Who can field I can give birth to every child. I can give birth to a beautiful lunar baby. I can give birth to a brown baby. I can give birth to all life because I'm the original form of what women were originally. Okay? That's all I'm saying. So let me get into my intel. I'm so off the chain. So anyway, I saw the craft above the building and I walked into a space, like almost like it was like an alley, but I went into a room. And then before I saw it, I heard like this. Like, you know how my bracelets sound? I heard that. And I saw this being. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen this type of suit. I've never seen this before. And now I'm going to go into Sun Ra and a lot of these different beings that used to play music that were in contact with this type of Africano looking phenotype. Now, we always thought that extraterrestrials are kind of like a thinner. I always saw them fairly either muscular looking. They may have different types of limbs, different features, but generally I saw them very, what I consider to be monoformed. Like not thin, but kind of in that form, maybe a little thicker. But this Martian literally was dressed in what I consider to be like colorful, like what you would consider to be a costume. That's why it threw me off a little bit, because I go inside the room and I turn around and I see this entity coming, but I hear like almost like maracas. It's not maracas, not that hard, but like bangles, like not bangles, like this. I can only, you hear that? Not bangles, but not ring, like that. I could hear that as they're coming, and they're standing there in form, like with their legs apart, in this beautiful, colorful, almost like this, but not so much, like a colorful. Their form was all over from head. And then I had to think to myself in my mind, I was like, that looks like those when the Africans perform in Africa, and they wear these. You ever see the guy who wears like hay on him? Oh, thank you, my love. I appreciate it. What's that? Oh gosh, I'm so bad with this because I don't know the names of the tribes who do it. It looks like hay. Remember, he looks like it. He's covered, and there's usually ceremonies, and he's doing all these movements, right? And he looks robust, right? But it's not like that. I'm just saying the form look round like that, uniformly round like that. And they dress, I just say the form is likened to the guy who always wears the hay on him, like big rounds like that. Okay, but it was colorful, and it was a spacesuit. So it was literally like this, and that's why I'm so interested. When I get glasses, it's almost like I'm mimicking the beings that I'm in contact with. So it had lenses like this. The whole head from bottom to top was covered in this colorful. It was a suit. It was a spacesuit, but it wasn't a spacesuit like a gray suit or like the sticky like the sticky suits you see that are more latex based. This wasn't like a bio suit. This was literally a suit, and I knew it was a space suit by how it was covered. It was covered from all the way around, like an African. It looked African in nature, but I would have to get someone to draw it. Family, I'll have someone. I'm gonna get an intuitive to draw it because I want to explain it better. Because I'm saying it to you, but I want you to visually see. It was a thicker person, though, in that suit. It wasn't a skinny mini. It was a thick person, like thick body-wise, like all roundish, like a thick woman, like a chunky big mama kind of type. And I don't know if it was a male or female. It felt female, so I would say the vibration of it felt female, but I couldn't tell because it was all in this beautiful, colorful, Africano looking things. I can't say. And it came towards me like it did that. First it stood still like in a pattern, like with its legs apart, and it was stout. It was shorter. It wasn't tall. It was stout, like a thick brown woman from Africa, like her legs apart. I'm gonna say her for me thinking, and I don't want to say it definitively. So just take it as maybe until I think about it later, I'll be able to give you a better construction of what I think she was. I think it was a she. Just by her stature, the roundness of her body, and also her putting her shorter, chunky legs apart. But it was like genie pants. The whole wardrobe was like colorful and so on. So she stood there, and I could hear this. And then she stepped up and stopped. And then I could hear this. And then she stepped up and stopped, and I could hear this. And then she came forward, and I got a little scared. I'm not going to front. Listen, family, I'm not going to front. So I watched her, and to the point where she started to run towards me. So listen, I've been in contact with a lot of beings, but this is something I never saw anything dressed in this kind of wardrobe, and I knew it was from the ship. So I automatically was curious, so I stood there strong until it came forward, and I was like, yo, I'm out. Because in my mind, I was like, it's charging, so maybe something about me is wrong. I can't tell you how every extraterrestrial, how every being will act. I don't know what its consciousness is. It's the first time I'm seeing it, so I was out. So I turned around to go run, and I went to go pick up a bag. Now this was interesting. I went to go pick up a bag of some sort, and the bag was almost like a medicine bag. I've never seen it before, but I recognized what it was because I went to go pick it up, and then I turned around with it. So it meant that subconsciously I had awareness that this bag meant something to this being. And I turned around, and it kind of it stood in front of me. Now the smell smelled something like, I said it like I said it yesterday. It was like oh my gosh, I'm sorry, hold on. I want to give you the scent I smelled because it was very unique. Like, I don't know, have you ever smelled African musk before? I'm not saying the right word. It's a smell. It's like an African musk. It's like I used to buy this when I was in Harlem. Like they'd sell it on, they'd sell it, like a lot of people sell it on the like Egyptian musk. They sell it on the street. Like, remember when they used to sell? It's not Egyptian musk, but it was the scent. Does anyone know what scent is in there? It's that scent. I know it's a word for the scent. I'm sorry. I wish. I'm so terrible. Not sage. It's, somebody will say it. Not amber. Not myrrh. I said it, yes, not cold. Jasmine, jasmine, thank you, jasmine. They got it. Okay, okay. It took me a minute. I know it's a scent. I don't want to give you the wrong scent. It was jasmine. Thank you, my love. Jasmine. Okay. I love when you I love when you telepathically pull it out of me, because sometimes I can't get it out. And I know the smell and I don't have the reference to tell you. It was jasmine. So, hold on, it's a weirdo. Hold on, could be government agent. Okay. Hold on, I have a minute. Okay, I got like 5 minutes. I got to talk to you. I'm going to come to you later on IG. I'm going to come to you later. I have to go. I have to do an interview tonight at 9 o'clock. I can't come on and do Aquarius Rising, but hold on. Okay, so it was jasmine and tinfoil. I'm going to come to you later. I want to give you the general thing. It was jasmine and tinfoil. I say she for no better, the Martian, the Olmecian smell like jasmine and tinfoil. I can't, that's all I can explain it. It's nothing nothing I've ever smelled. The jasmine I recognize, but that tinfoil, it smelled like metal. So it's jasmine and tinfoil. If you've ever cooked tinfoil, do you guys ever cook with tinfoil? I haven't used tinfoil in years. Tinfoil has a scent when you cook it. It's that scent. So it's tinfoil and jasmine mixed together. That's all I can say. I don't want to, I can't say. So she comes up and I have a medicine bag in my hand. And I say a medicine bag because that's all I can reference is that. I got to go. So I'm picking it up and I have it in my hand. And it looks at it. It looks at the bag and it looks at me. It looks at the bag and it looks at me, and then it takes the bag. And then that's when all of a sudden I heard like a high pitched, like a halt, almost like a break. Like, you know, when a break is really bad, you hear like a high pitched, like a break. I heard a high pitch. Oh, I'm hearing someone ringing now, like a high pitched break when she took the bag. Took the bag, it's so funny, took the bag. And then she kind of just walked away with the bag. So whatever I was meant to give her, I gave her. And it was in this bag. The bag is what she came for. But again, it was something that I've never encountered before. Her presence was only disconcerting when she charged. It was only disconcerting then. I didn't have any other feeling. I was more curious about her. And I say her because that's the only way I can describe it. But let me state this, family, before I go. I have to go. I'm going to give more of an explanation, more so to Patreon. Patreon, you will hear all the information I have. Mars is here, family. Earth and Mars are one and the same. The red dust that you're seeing is literally some of the debris from Niburians that are coming in, but also from the teleporting of our planet back into its physical form that it used to be. We are now terraforming back Earth, back to her original status, because the Olmecians are returning and they want their home base back the way it is. This is my personal state of what I think. I can't confirm it fully, but I feel like every burning of the trees, they are returning Earth back to this water stone world, this Martian world that they are acclimated to, or those beings, or we could take it as those beings who are terraformed for others to live on here cohesively. They are trying to return the planet back to how it was received. So basically, if you got your, you got your car a certain way, you pimped it out because you leased it, you put all kinds of dice in your windows. I don't know who still does that, or back in the days they put dice in their window. You put incense in your car. Remember, you pimped out your car when you got it, and then you got to return the lease. So you're basically changing, taking all your stuff out of the car, taking everything that you did, basically returning the car back to the way it originally is. This is my personal observation, is that Earth is being returned back to the state it was when the Olmecs walked here and the Niburians are here. They have to return it the way that it was received. This is my total consciousness. If you have any other opinion, I'm open for it. Again, I'm sharing what occurred. I have an appointment. I wish I could talk to you more. I'm going to come afterwards on most likely IG and kind of go a little longer, and obviously on Instagram, on Patreon. We'll talk about it when we have our live and do our practice for telepathy and telekinesis on Saturday. So Saturday night we'll go fully into it. But family, Mars is here and we are Mars. The Martians are back. The Olmecs are coming back to reclaim their planet. Do not fall for the okie doke. Stay out of people's fights. If you are biased or prejudiced, you're going to have a real terrible time on this planet when you see all these Negroidians come back. We already had a sighting in Arizona by one of our sea stars who denoted that they were coming out of Walmart, one of the portals out of Walmart. They may be hosting some of these open portals inside of Walmart. This was in Phoenix, Arizona. These odd looking brown people that look like they weren't from here showing up. And that is why I got that the officer from years ago gave me the remember they gave me the actual there was a note going throughout the department. I had it, many of you heard me talking about it a couple of times. I couldn't find it again, saying that when you see brown people with superhuman strength, you were to kill them on sight. You weren't to hesitate. And this was given to the Department of Brown, Lunars, and everything. So it wasn't about color. It was about entities. They know that these beings are there. Also, the reason why they have us wearing the mask is to make sure that they can isolate our eyes so they can see what we are, and also 6 feet apart so they can isolate our human forms to make sure that they can find out whether we're human or we're Martians. They aren't able to see the Martians because the Martians have our same phenotype, but because they aren't able to identify them, they can do it by isolating you. So 6 feet apart allows machinery and AI to identify your physical form, and also wearing the mask also allows to isolate the eyes so that they can do a scan to make sure that you're humanoid and not Martian. Anyway, family, that's all I have for you today. Please put a like on the video if you want me to come back and give you more intel. I appreciate so many things, your support, your love, your waiting, your patience. I appreciate it. I will come on a little later. I can't come on tonight, but if you share, absolutely please share your opinions. You know, your opinion matters on here. We are going back into home court advantage. We are in full on pole shift, but now I realize the pole shift is literally reset. They are returning the planet back to center the way it was, and Mars and Earth are one and the same. This is my opinion. Anyway, I love you, family. I will see you later, and tell me what you think. If you think it's truth, it's truth. If you think it isn't, it isn't. I would love to know your opinion. Your opinion matters. All right. So I love you. Talk to you later, and peace.